You're listening to the Multiverse Fan Cast, proud member of the Misfit Faction Media Network.
All right then. On with the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Multiverse Fan Cast. If you guys are listening to us on the go, you can find us on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, basically anywhere you guys get your podcasts. You can also find more of our content on our website, themisfitfaction.com. There you'll find links to not only this show, but some of our other shows like Cinematic Adventures and MF Uncensored, our partner shows like You Hate to See It, and links to our store, and all of our different news, reviews, and articles. That's a lot. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Paul. With me in the studio today is Ronnie. Ronnie, how are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm living the dream, man. And all the way from Cinematic Adventures, Sean. Sean, how are you today?
Yeah, the ship is too big. If I walked, the podcast would be over.
Were you waiting for that one? You were sitting on that one? What if,
It'll do a while.
Yeah, if I had introduced you first, would you still done it?
No, because it's Ronnie's show. So if you introduce me first, that's an insult to Ronnie.
We've done that before, though.
And can I just say, like, you were so energetic, and then when you said Sean's name, it was like, da-da-da, Sean.
Yeah. Because our podcasts have different tones. Multiverse Fancast tends to be a little bit more loud, and then Cinematic Adventure a little bit more professional.
But you were loud, but when you said his name, it was
Sean. Because
And there's Sean.
Sean is a man of culture and gentlemanly status and should be treated as such. If you guys listen to Cinematic Adventures, you are aware of that.
And I couldn't miss this episode. I wanted to talk about this.
Sean was
so
more excited
much.
to record this episode than, like, all of us. And he's not even on the show. He's like, are you guys going to do it? Can I get in on that? Did you guys talk about it during San Diego Comic-Con episode? So
you would know if you listened.
It's very true, actually. That's actually very true.
None of you guys listen to the I'm the only one that listens to the podcast mostly because I have to edit them. But anyway, so today we are talking about this is a topic that's
A train wreck.
Oh my
Dumpster fire.
Shall we keep going?
We're going to talk about a studio that may be trying their best but probably isn't. And that is, well, now DC Films. So if you guys are, obviously if you're listening to a podcast about nerd culture and comic books and superhero movies, you obviously know that he's been going through a bit of a rough patch, yeah, for the last couple of time, yeah, a couple of times later. So
since BVS,
it's really starting to hit a like a point, like a very concerning point. It did start back with Batman vs Superman, which came out and has its big fans, has its detractors. For the most part, it got negative reviews, but there's a very passionate Zack Snyder fan base. And for the most part, like we've talked about Batman vs Superman, I think it was one of our very first episodes on the show, and we enjoyed it at the time. You know, it's not a masterpiece, it's not a work of art, but it started to set the tone, and we kind of got to see where DC was trying to head with their cinematic universe. Because where was Marvel at the time of Batman vs Superman?
What year was that?
Oh, that's a fantastic question.
2014.
Something along those lines.
So that's Guardians of the Galaxy.
I would say that's phase 2.5.
Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Around there?
Phase 2.5.
Like halfway through phase 2.
2016, yeah. So
That was 2016?
2016.
So that was Guardians 2.
Yeah. So
wow.
So
Man of Steel came out in 2013.
13.
And that was...
So it took them 3 years to go from Man of Steel to Batman v Superman?
Yes, sir. And then Suicide Squad came out the same year.
That's right, because
yeah.
I think we saw Batman in that before we saw Batman vs Superman.
So just going back to that time period, Man of Steel comes out, and I think for the most part, the general consensus is it's a good movie. We enjoy it.
Like Batman vs Superman, it has its detractors and it has its fans. I actually enjoy that movie.
I do too.
It's a movie I can watch. It's an interesting storyline. Different.
Very different take on Superman. The effects were amazing.
The effects were great. The music was great.
The fights were...
He was fantastic as Superman.
Yeah.
And, we'll all determine that they panicked because it did not make Dark Knight money.
No.
And they expected it to do that.
So Batman vs Superman comes out, and DC decided to go a different route than Marvel, where Marvel would introduce all their individual characters and then do it. They've only more recently started introducing them in ensembles. Like Black Panther was introduced, Spider-Man was introduced in ensemble films, then got their solo films. But so they decided to do a Batman and Superman movie, which, okay, we were psyched. We were so excited. We started a podcast called the Multiverse Fan Cast, all about it. Like that's really why we started the podcast when we did, because it was something we always talked about. But then it comes out, and I still like that movie. I recognize its flaws, but for the most part, it's especially the director's cut, which is always usually director's cuts are better.
Yeah.
That's just kind of the way it goes. Not always. There are plenty of times where that's not the case, but I feel like for Batman vs Superman, the director's cut was better, in all honesty. But Ben Affleck, I enjoy as Batman, and we're going to talk about Ben Affleck as Batman and during this episode. And yeah, it set the tone, it set the stage. Because Marvel movies, especially Phase 1, they weren't like a Marvel movie didn't happen because of the events of another Marvel movie. It wasn't until like Avengers: Age of Ultron where they were like, oh, because this happened in Captain America, we have to deal with this now.
Yeah.
Suicide Squad comes out same year, and it's almost a direct sequel to Batman vs Superman in a lot of ways, where it's like this happened in this movie, so this is what we're doing. And that was the one thing about the DC, like the beginning of the DC universe, that I really enjoyed, because
it was all connected.
It felt like it was one giant story as opposed to a lot of different solo films, then the team up story. But Ronnie, you're a big fan of Suicide Squad. Like you still defend that movie.
Yes, I defend it. It's kind of like you with Batman vs Superman, where I know it's a terrible movie, but I enjoy the movie, But it's just tough to watch that movie now, though. Like especially after the latest Suicide Squad movie we got, which was a lot of steps higher up than this one. But
Sean doesn't like the new Suicide Squad movie. Which one would you rather watch?
I'd rather watch the first one.
Really?
No.
Yeah.
Wow.
I just think it's a more fun movie to watch.
Okay, that's right.
I just felt the new Suicide Squad was just very very, I don't know what the word.
Over the top for the sake of being over the top.
It was just too.
You got this.
I can't think of the word I'm looking for. It just nothing about that movie. I was just like made me feel happy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like I felt Suicide Squad was just a fun movie.
Okay.
They were having fun making that movie.
Yeah.
The new Suicide Squad just felt too dark, too over the top. They were just trying to clean up what the first one did.
Yeah.
And I felt like James Gunn was just going, holy crap, crazy more because he couldn't do that stuff with Guardians.
Right.
Yeah.
So after that, we have Wonder Woman. Now, Wonder Woman was really the film that kind of was like, hey, these films have a lot of potential. Because Wonder Woman is still...
So very good movie.
I still
Excellent movie.
regard it as one of the better, if not the best, especially at this beginning. Like, as much as I love Batman vs Superman or Man of Steel, Wonder Woman was really... It found the perfect balance of that Zack Snyder action with good storytelling and good... Like, it just balanced out very well. And I think the fact that they made it a period piece helped.
You always like a period. That's why I like Captain America.
Yeah, the first Avenger.
First Avenger.
Now Justice League rolls around, and we've done several episodes on Justice League, both the original and the Snyder's Cut. So like we're not going to harp too much on it, but that was where we got really worried about DC. Like really, we're like, oh my god. Like if you listen to our first Justice League episode, we were very nice. Like because
too nice.
Given the circumstance of what happened, we expected way worse.
Yeah,
it's still bad, and it's only getting worse over time. But yeah, we're not going to talk too much about that. But then Aquaman rolls around, and Aquaman was a fun film. Like I enjoy the first Aquaman.
Fun.
Yeah,
it was a fun movie. It was not groundbreaking in any sense. No. It was just enjoyable.
It did its job.
They found a great way to portray Aquaman.
Yes,
and he's like the bro surfer dude at some points, but he's also like a tough badass. Like the opening submarine scene is awesome.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
and then he's like drinking in the bar with like the guys who come up to him and you think they're gonna fight, and he's like, no, can we take a picture?
Yeah,
and it's like and then it like cuts to like them all partying together. It's funny. Shazam rolls around, and I like Shazam. I still can watch Shazam. It was better than I thought it was going to be. But now Shazam's also at that point where it's starting to get a little too meta. Like he's in the toy store, and he's like, there's like the Batman action figure, and he throws it at him. He's like, get him, Batman. And then like the kid is playing with like the Batman and Superman action figures, and Shazam and Dr. Silva, I think his name is, like collide in the air, and he drops the toys, and it's like, oh, okay, we get it, WB.
Yeah.
And Birds of Prey. I liked Birds of Prey.
I loved it. I loved it.
If they had just called it Harley Quinn, it probably would have been a lot better.
Yeah.
Instead of this whole
the emancipation
of one fabulous Harley Quinn or something like that.
Yeah.
I highly recommend it, Sean, if you haven't seen it. And then
probably the second best.
It was
DC movie.
It was better than it should have been.
Yeah.
It had no right to be as good as it was.
Yep.
Wonder Woman 1984 rolls around. We hate that movie.
Yeah.
It's only getting worse. And I
still just don't understand what went wrong with that movie. Like what they were thinking.
Oh yeah.
The villains were absolute garbage. The CGI effects, the fact that they allowed that movie to be released with her looking like when she's Cheetah, it just looked horrible.
The memes have been great though with Pedro Pascal.
Oh my God.
Life is good, but it could be better.
And even bringing Chris Pine back, I was kind of like,
Yeah.
you're
Made no
you're
sense.
harping on a movie that was 3 years ago. Do something different.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just the whole thing was weird. The whole thing was just so
oh
strange.
my God. I mean, it was just painful.
Yeah.
It was painful to watch. It really was.
So, and then the Suicide Squad comes out where it's kind of mixed in this room with it. Like, I just rewatched it, and I was like, I do actually like this movie.
Yeah.
But now, this is also...
You know what that reminded me of?
Hit me.
The original Suicide Squad with the new one, it reminded me of watching G.I. Joe and then the G.I. Joe Retaliation movie.
Yeah.
I liked the first G.I. Joe better.
Mm-hmm.
G.I. Joe Retaliation is probably a better made movie.
Yeah.
But I just had just nothing about that movie I liked.
There was only one thing about that movie that I liked better.
What?
Cobra Commander.
Fair.
He looked
Yeah.
fantastic in
Fair,
that.
fair.
Like, the fact that they were able to translate that, on point.
To me, I think the Suicide Squad is better because you had Peacemaker come out of it.
You still haven't watched
I still
Peacemaker.
haven't watched Peacemaker.
No.
You gotta watch Peacemaker.
So with the first Suicide Squad, all you had really just Margot Robbie. That's it.
There was a lot of fan clamoring for what's his face. They wanted to get Will Smith back. I liked Captain Boomerang. I was really upset when they killed off Captain Boomerang in the opening scene. I was like,
I hated that opening scene.
that opening scene's rough to watch.
Just oh my
Yeah.
God, because they screwed with you. Like
Yeah.
all these actors, you were like, oh, he's it, Michael Rooker.
Yeah.
Boomerang.
But now going back and watching the trailers, you should have been like, I'm sitting there going, oh, I should have realized it.
Even,
Yeah.
Nathan Fillion, even though he's not dead.
But there's
Yeah.
a rumor that he's
There's a
actually
rumor that he's
still
still alive.
TDK.
And the rat thing.
Oh
Yeah.
God, Weasel.
Weasel.
So that was the state of DC. Now DC also during that time does what DC does and announced a ton of projects. Like at the time they announced their Flash movie, they announced Black Adam, they announced Shazam, they announced a Superman movie with a black Superman, and that was a whole other 45-minute discussion. But Blue Beetle, all these things, they have all these things that they're like, we're doing this.
Yep.
And now we're at DC now. So for those of you guys who don't know, Discovery, I believe, bought out Warner Brothers or something along those lines. They're merging.
Yeah.
They're merging.
Yeah.
I don't know who bought who, though.
So
I'm
most
assuming Discovery bought Warner Brothers because then I don't know why this would all be happening
Yeah.
if Warner Brothers bought Discovery.
So Warner Brothers seems like it was on a better track. They did their Crisis on Infinite Earths on the TV side, so it actually put everything into one continuity. So they expanded the multiverse first. Everybody's talking about Marvel doing the multiverse, but really, DC kind of was there first. But so, man, what a weird time we find ourselves in. Now DC is reshuffling all of their creative team. They're canceling things. So this really started with the cancellation of Batwoman. All right. So let's.
Batgirl. Oh, it was Batwoman.
Batgirl. Excuse me.
Batgirl.
Batgirl.
Yeah.
The HBO Max movie. So
The $90 million movie that is no more.
Can we just? I mean, how close was that movie to being done?
I think it was
basically done.
It was in post.
The fact that they were willing to do that. I mean, they thought this movie was gonna be that bad that they just couldn't even. And it was going straight to streaming.
Yeah.
It wasn't even going to theaters.
But not just that. You just literally just wasted $90 million.
Yeah, and they got something back for doing it. They had a deadline. They could have. That's why they canceled it.
Some sort of tax deadline.
Some tax
yeah.
credit or something like that.
So the reason that they said it was canceled was because. Not only because of poor test screenings, which is a thing, test screenings are an important part, but the film was deemed not big enough for the big screen, yet too expensive to be released on HBO Max. So Warner Brothers had a unique situation that they really just kind of squandered. Yeah. And Peacemaker showed that it worked, where they had, hey, we'll do our big movies and then we'll spin off characters or do smaller movies on HBO Max and have it one continuity, the Disney Plus style.
Yeah.
Peacemaker showed that it worked. Peacemaker was better in Peacemaker than he was in the Suicide Squad, and that's just my opinion. But it's weird. And they also announced, like originally they had an original Batman film with Ben Affleck that they canceled. They had Cyborg, which they canceled.
Well, that was more of a Ben Affleck thing, I think, than it was.
That was
DC.
completely a Ben Affleck thing.
Same with Cyborg.
But even, but even The Batman, which was fantastic and we loved, and they talked about a sequel immediately. It hasn't actually been greenlit yet.
No, that's surprising.
That's worrisome.
Yeah.
It's very worrisome, especially because, like, Robert Pattinson's a hot commodity right now. Like, I hate to say it, he's not the Twilight kid anymore. He's busy. What if he gets too busy and it's 6 years and we still haven't gotten a sequel to this?
Yep.
They also canceled a Deathstroke movie. They had a Green Lantern movie. They wanted to do more Harley Quinn stuff. They wanted to do a Joker film, Justice League sequels. Like they had, and of course the one that I wanted that they have not even talked about, Man of Steel sequel.
Yeah.
There's a big clamoring to get Henry Cavill to jump back in.
See, that's where I have a problem. They want to redo this whole thing. If you're gonna redo it, recast everything. Don't go back. And as much as I would love to see Henry Cavill as Superman again, it just feels like you're just grasping at the past. Like go somewhere else.
So apparently, all right. So let's talk about the Flash, because the Flash is a freaking mess right now. Not just the movie, but also the star.
Yep.
Ezra Miller has completely gone off the reservation.
I don't think he's going to work again. He's done.
This is the end of his career.
I mean, he's Shia LaBeouf right now.
He's worse.
He's worse than
I don't know.
LaBeouf.
Shia has had some great movies lately.
No, Shia's actually a good actor.
Mm-hmm.
He's just a nut job.
But Peanut Butter Falcon?
Yeah, I heard it was very good.
Very good movie.
Yeah, I don't know how good of an actor Ezra Miller is. I haven't seen anything else he's been in. I never saw Perks of Being a Wallflower.
He was fine in Perks of Being a Wallflower, but also he was
also 12 then.
He also plays himself to the most part. Like I always say that actors, if they're just playing themselves, they're not really like. As much as I love The Rock, most of the time he's playing himself. That's why I'm excited for Black Adam, to kind of see if he's a little bit different in it. But so. Let's talk about it. The Flash is supposed to be coming out. It got pushed back mostly due to COVID. It's supposed to be coming out later this year, as of now.
Yeah.
Ezra Miller started getting himself in a lot of legal trouble. First in Hawaii, he was like getting in bar fights and people were getting restraining orders against him, and he kept getting arrested. There's actually footage of him being processed, like the body cam footage, and it's wild. He's definitely, there's something wrong with him.
Some screws loose.
Then suddenly he's on the run. Then suddenly he's in Vermont with a cult, and like it's weird.
Yeah.
And it's getting weirder and weirder and crazier and crazier. But unfortunately, WB. Supposedly, during all this, WB actually pulled him in for reshoots. Like
for Justice League? Or for Flash?
Flash. Yeah. Like, during all of this, when he's literally on the run, they're like, do you want to come do some reshoots? He's like, yeah, okay. So, WB finds itself at this. It has three choices, really. Release the movie. Like, nothing happens.
And he can't do any press.
One option is let him just do limited press. Option 2, not have him involved at all. Like, release the movie, have the rest of the cast do their tours and all that stuff.
Cut him off.
Cut him out completely.
Replace him, and he's done.
Yeah. And then the third is to just scrap the movie completely.
Don't scrap it.
I don't want him to scrap it either.
Neither do I.
Because I want to see Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I want to see this movie is for Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
And we're robbed of it because he was going to be in Batgirl.
Yeah.
So if you scrap both of these movies, I mean, if I'm Michael Keaton, I'm pissed.
He got paid.
I know, but still.
He got paid.
Still, to see him in the Batsuit
But
after
he could get paid more depending on how the movie does.
after 30 years, that's what I was looking forward to.
Well, so the rumors were that this movie was supposed to relaunch, because for those of you guys who don't know, in the comics there was a comic called Flashpoint. Flashpoint had a similar premise where to this upcoming Flash movie, it was called Flashpoint at first. Now it's just The Flash. Barry Allen travels back in time and he stops the death of his mother at the hands of the Reverse Flash. And doing so, he creates a ripple effect, or like a time boom almost, that changes things throughout the entire
Butterfly effect.
Yeah. So, like, instead of Bruce Wayne becoming Batman, his father becomes Batman because Bruce Wayne dies in the alley instead. Superman doesn't land in Kansas. He lands in the middle of Metropolis, and he's taken captive by the government, and he's held as a lab rat for his entire life. Like, so a lot of different, and it's a lot of fun. Like, they did it in Arrow with all that stuff with Barry Allen to a much smaller degree. But yeah, they played around with a lot of that stuff.
Did they do an animated version of Flashpoint?
Yes, it's on HBO Max if anybody ever wants to watch it. It's very good. It's very good. The animation style is a little weird, but otherwise it's done really well. So that was the rumor that was going to happen. And apparently with all this coming out, they also said that they were going to do a Crisis on Infinite Earths movie. Now, we all watched... Did you watch Crisis on Infinite Earths on CW?
Yeah, you showed it to me.
Yeah? I
liked the first 3 episodes more than the last 3. Really, I felt the ending kind of was lackluster.
Yeah. But we're at this point where if they... I do agree with you, Sean. If they want to just relaunch it, they should. But apparently this movie was going to, where they were actually going to have Michael Keaton's Batman be... This is all just...
Speculation.
And not even speculation. This is rumor. At this point, it's not like I think this is going to happen. This is like people who claim to have insider knowledge.
Yeah.
Where Michael Keaton's Batman was supposed to take over as Batman in the main continuity, and Supergirl is supposed to take over as like the super person of the main continuity, which I think would be silly.
Yeah.
But whatever. We don't know until we know. We won't know until we see the movie.
If we do.
But now going back to more like of the weird, Aquaman 2 is filming. I believe it's Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom.
Yes.
Which I'm excited for. I want to see if Amber Heard's even in it at this point. I do want to say that it's done filming.
Yeah.
It filmed from June of last year to January this year.
I think they said she's going to be in like 10 minutes or less.
Yeah, probably. Because that was in the middle of all that stuff too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but Ben Affleck was reported that he's going to be reprising his role. Any thoughts on that?
Different.
Indifferent.
Point.
I liked him as Batman, so I'm okay with it. My only thing is now we have 2 Batmen.
You're talking about Pattinson?
Yeah, Pattinson. Yeah,
I always feel like,
but
were they ever going to? Was Flashpoint going to bring the Pattinson Batman into this universe?
As far as people know, that was never a plan.
So,
no.
But again, it all goes back to this plan to reboot. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what you're doing, yet you continually are making these movies that are still tied in to the Snyderverse.
Yeah, because this is my thing. Like, if you have Pattinson, you got to find a way to tie him in, because I think he did a great job as being Batman.
I just don't think he would fit into a world of superheroes.
I agree with that, and I also think that storyline of Batman is just doesn't belong in that. It's just, I think it's a one-off. I really do think it's going to be a one-off
And I'm
movie.
fine with that.
I'm okay with it, too.
At the end of the day, we still got a good Batman movie.
Because didn't he sign up for like 3 movies?
Yeah, no, we're saying like it's going to be its own
thing.
It's going to be Dark Knight. It's going to be the Nolan trilogy.
But it's the same thing I said about the Nolan trilogy. Like when people were like, "Oh, have Superman," I was like, "Do you think Christian Bale's Batman would really work in a world with superpowers and superheroes? It doesn't fit."
It's both Bale and Pattinson's Batmans are grounded in reality. They are not over the top special effects, aliens, superheroes. It's just not the way they were done.
I think the way to do it is the way the Arrowverse did it, where they introduced it very gradually.
Yeah.
It wasn't until season 2 of Arrow that they started talking about even
the
like
metahumans,
and it was very restricted to just like Central City.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until like
all
season
Flash.
6 or something like that they were like, "Oh, you're a metahuman that wasn't born there," or aliens. Like,
and then obviously get into Legends, which is just
wild,
over the top fun.
Me personally, as much as I love all of the stuff that they've done so far, I love Ben Affleck's Batman. I still say he's the most terrifying Batman out of all of them. The shot of him popping up in Lex's cell at the end of Batman vs Superman is still like, oh crap.
Yep.
It may be better to just do the soft the actual reboot and just rip the Band-Aid off at this point.
Yeah.
I don't know,
but
it's
the only way to go, because, well, the tough thing is if you do that, what are you going to do with Jason Momoa? With Aquaman, because Aquaman's been tied in,
and Wonder Woman,
and Wonder Woman.
Well, what is that's the thing about Wonder Woman to me, is like, you've obviously done 2 movies by yourself where it's before the events of Justice League and Batman vs Superman. Are you going to ever do a present day Wonder Woman? Or are you going to just find out it's going to be Wonder Woman 1990?
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
I hope they learned that was not the way to go.
I didn't have a problem with the idea. It's like, okay, this is just a story of what she did before she was founded by Bruce Wayne. It just...
Yeah.
My problem was,
garbage.
you look at Wonder Woman in Batman vs Superman, where she's very jaded and very like, I'm not here to... Like, I tried to help, and it didn't work out.
I want to know what she's referring to.
Because
she's referring to 84 in that sense now?
It wouldn't make any sense.
But that's the thing, and I feel like that's why that movie was just like, what? So how did we get to her in Batman vs Superman, where she's just like doesn't want to be Wonder Woman?
Involved, yeah.
Is it because she lost Chris Pine a second time now, and that's what drove her to just being like?
Which doesn't make sense considering her whole diatribe about love at the end. Oh, they took Wonder Woman, who, say what you will about Batman vs Superman, she was a highlight.
Oh, when she shows up in that music,
and she's
that
badass.
Was the best part. That was
like
the best
she,
part of the movie.
Even like you watch the Snyder cut, like, and even in Justice League to a point, like she's badass. She's a warrior.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman 1984 neutered her. Like, it's like the best way to describe it. Like, it took away the things that made her such a powerful and cool character.
Yeah.
Like, and then replaced it with all the tropes. Like, no, I believe in love.
You know what?
You were stabbing people.
You know what? This is I think with 1984, it's obviously before Batman vs Superman and Justice League. So I wonder if like this is like kind of like what Sean said. This is how she got to be what we saw.
It still doesn't make sense given the ending of that movie. Like towards after it all happened, she's like, "No, I still believe in love and happiness."
No, I agree, and that's why I'm interested to see if they even do another Wonder Woman movie, because at this point,
supposedly they are. Supposedly they have.
But again, why? You're nowhere near production.
No,
your company is talking about doing a 10-year plan of a reboot. If I'm Gal Gadot, I'm like, I just don't want to be dealing with this crap anymore.
I mean, it's such a mess.
I mean, even with Flashpoint,
buy me out of a contract, and I'll just go do other things.
With Flashpoint, I mean, yes, you can have different, people playing superheroes, but you can also have the same ones reprising their roles.
Yeah,
that's the glorious thing about a multiverse. Like, look at Spider-Man: No Way Home or Far From Home. Which one?
Far From Home.
The newest
one.
No Way
Home.
No Way Home.
Yeah.
Too many homes.
Spider-Man Homeless. Oh, but
right? What was it?
They were able to, actually seamlessly put in these older characters, and it felt natural, organic.
Yeah.
DC can do it. Like, if they really wanted to, if they want to create, hey, this is our main they do it in comics all the time with DC Rebirth and DC the New 52. Like, it's not an uncommon practice.
Can I just say one thing? And I just want your opinion on that. I don't know if we talked about this when we did the Spider-Man. If I'm Tom Holland and the cast of the new Spider-Man, wouldn't I be a little annoyed that you're harping on all this old nostalgia to push this movie into a world?
See, I'll argue that because Spider-Man No Way Home got rave reviews and did incredibly well. Multiverse of Madness tried to do the exact same thing, and it fell flat. I will still say that Spider-Man had the much better story.
No, I agree it had a great story, but I'm just more like...
The cameos?
I'd be like... I think the fans were more happy to see
those
Toby and Andrew Garfield.
Yeah,
and I'm like...
I agree to a point, but I also think that it doesn't detract from...
Okay, that's what I saw.
At the same time, too, I guarantee you Tom Holland probably grew up watching
I agree.
And,
I agree. I don't think he had a problem with them. It was just more like, really? Like, this is where you want to go? You just want to harp back on nostalgia instead of taking my character into a different,
instead of growing my character, you want to just
I think
do
that
some fan
the script
service.
was good enough
that I was just curious.
Yeah. No,
I agree with you. Doctor Strange tried to do the same thing, and it was just garbage.
Yeah. Like, it's excited.
Like, that movie has festered in my head since we saw it, and I liked it in first seeing it, but now I'm like, I never really need to watch it.
I'll never watch it again. It's a shame, too.
Yeah.
But, so, going back to where we are, these are some of the movies that they're still working on. So, after Batgirl got canceled, it's very confusing. Because
Batwoman is the show, Batgirl was the movie.
Now, also, speaking of which, there's a big fan push, and I don't want them to do this, to have Grant Gustin just be the cinematic Flash.
No, you can't do that.
No,
that's
too old.
It's not even the too old thing, because he's not that old. He's younger than us.
Seriously?
I think so. Grant Gustin? Wow. Yeah. Somebody look it up while I talk. The problem is you now have 8 years of story that's already been told. And that's also a thing about Spider-Man that I have an issue with. Because now Spider-Man's met all of his main bad guys. So if he goes into college and it's like,
right.
there's Otto Octavius. Don't go in that lab with the tentacle arms, please.
Yeah.
He's 32.
Yeah, Grant Gustin.
Yeah.
So
now, it's the same thing we used to always joke about with Tom Welling. We wanted Tom Welling to be Superman, and then and the more you look back and you're like, it's good that they didn't do it, because I think it would have just killed our Smallville. Just because we love that show so much.
If anything, the only person that I think could make the transition from their small screen
Stephen
Amell. It was not Stephen Amell, because obviously at the end of
Diggle.
No, because apparently they screwed that up. I would say it's still early enough in its infancy. Superman and Lois. Tyler Hoechlin can take that step into the main screen.
Yeah.
And
how much longer do you think that show's got?
It's fantastic. Yeah. It's really good. And I'm not just saying that as a huge Superman fan.
It's the only one left, right?
Technically, and it's not even part of the. It's apparently not part of the main Arrowverse.
Yeah. Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's like a separate, like
universe.
Another Earth, like Earth 3.5. But. So when Batgirl got canceled, everybody was talking about Blue Beetle, because Blue Beetle's also in production. I believe it's all done. Like, the principal photography's wrapped. And it was supposed to be just an HBO Max exclusive film. But they decided that they're going to do an August 18th, 2023 release. So that's next year.
It takes them a year to do post-production on that movie?
Probably. That might change, though. But
probably a lot of CGI.
A lot of the fans were like, oh, well, don't touch it. Because, the behind-the-scenes photos, the suit looks great.
Yeah.
It's the kid from Cobra Kai. Marduena, I think?
Sure.
Yeah. But I was really excited for it, because he's a character that I've started to really enjoy. But we also have, so these are some of the other films that are supposedly still in development. You ready? The Amazons.
No need for that.
No need for that. Black Canary. I would watch that. I did enjoy her in Harley Quinn.
That's what's her name? Who's
Journey Smollett.
Journey Smollett. She's very good.
Yeah. Booster Gold. I would love a Booster Gold movie. They did him on Smallville. Yeah, and it was such a fun episode.
But no one's gonna watch that. He's got to get introduced.
I disagree.
First.
I think. I mean, look at
unless it's an HBO Max movie, he's got to get introduced.
Well, Booster Gold and Blue Beetle have always had a very long run. I could see a cameo at the end of Blue Beetle. There was talk about a Deadshot movie with Floyd Lawton, and supposedly it still was in development, but now not so much. Gotham City Sirens, which was a team consisting of Harley Quinn, Catwoman, and Poison Ivy. And we haven't seen Catwoman or Poison Ivy in the DCEU yet.
Unless you're not counting Zoe Kravitz,
yeah.
If you're not going to involve that side when you're going to recast that, obviously.
Mm-hmm. And then we got Green Lantern Corps, which is another one that's all over the place because they had Jon Stewart cameoed in the Snyder Cut, then they made him remove him. And did you see the shot of it, like what he looked like?
I don't remember. I know I saw the scene in the extended cut, but I don't know what you're talking about.
And the scene in the extended cut when Martian Manhunter comes down, it was supposed to be Jon Stewart. Supposed to be Green Lantern, and they filmed it.
Who was playing?
I forget the actual actor's name, but like they released a picture of what he would, because obviously he's in like the CGI suit, but like they showed what he looked like, and he looked fantastic. Like it looked really cool. But they made them change it. That's why if you rewatch that scene where he's talking to Martian Manhunter, he's talking to Green Lantern. Yeah. They just switched it.
So my question is, are all of these characters, all these extra movies they want to do, are you going to be tied into the Snyderverse?
And that's the question.
That's the thing. Yeah. But when we say they're in development, they haven't started filming yet. They haven't done anything yet. Is there even a script? We don't know.
Development means they're developing the script.
All of these have been greenlit in some sort of fashion and have some sort of different level of being done. Because we also got Lobo, the Metal Men, Nightwing.
I know Nightwing, but
Plastic Man, Static Shock, Supergirl, Wonder Woman 3, and Zatanna. And they also wanted to do that Superman movie.
Yeah. So I'm excited. Like out of those names, none of them's jumping out at me.
Nah. I want to see. Nightwing movie would be interesting, depending on who you cast. And we've been wanting a Nightwing movie for years. Yeah. I mean, going back to the Burton.
A lot of people are saying Dylan O'Brien from Teen Wolf. Nice. I think he'd do a good job.
He'd be good. A Batman Beyond movie, like at this point, just do a Batman Beyond movie. You got Michael Keaton back.
Yep.
Especially now if you cut the freaking Flash, you gotta give the fans. You got to give the fans Michael Keaton in the Batsuit. I'm sorry, you got to do it.
Not gonna lie, you can even do Ben Affleck just with a little bit of
You
prosthetics.
could. I mean, listen, at this point, you could.
I mean,
no, you're not wrong.
That could
or do a movie of The Dark Knight Rises, Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah,
something.
Yeah.
They also have a couple of series in development that is part of the. We have a Amanda Waller series.
No desire.
An untitled John Constantine series. I would watch it if they had Matt Ryan, which he just reprised a role in Harley Quinn, which is awesome. Justice League Dark. They've been talking about that forever, and they want Guillermo del Toro actually was the one who was like pushing it. But I think that would be fantastic. A spin-off series to the Suicide Squad. I'd be okay with like a weekly. I think that they could do something fun with it.
Yeah.
Madam X, which is based on a character called Madam Xanadu.
Xanadu.
And the untitled Val Zod series, which
Rest in peace, Olivia Newton-John.
Yeah. Yep. So those are like that's
absolutely nothing jumps out at me. Like I said, the only thing that really jumped out at me was the Nightwing. And even that, I'm like, I could do or die without it. I mean,
I would watch the Constantine series.
Wonder Woman jumps out at me just because of how great the first movie was.
Is Patty Jenkins going to come back?
Yeah.
Has there been any talk? Was that movie like messed with in any way? Did Warner Brothers like do anything to that movie? Or
Nobody
did she
really knows.
Did she just hit and miss on that?
I think she just hit and miss. Like kind of like Eternals.
Okay.
Like Chloe Zhao is a fantastic director. Yeah. But like Eternals was just I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like nothing about Eternals. Like there's some moments in it, but like I was just kind of like.
And all I gotta say is DC needs to do something because in my opinion, Marvel's got a low batting average lately. I've not been too big with Marvel's stuff. I thought Thor was underwhelming.
We talked about Marvel.
Doctor Strange was underwhelming.
Yeah.
So I don't want to get into a huge, obviously, on it, but I'm just saying this is DC's time to they need to
get
strike and get something going because how much longer can Marvel go? I mean, you got the Avengers movies still a year plus away.
We'll see with Black Adam. I have faith in Black Adam.
everybody wants that movie canceled now because it did what about the same test score as Batgirl, and they're all just like, oh yeah, you cut the film with the woman, but you're not going to cut The Rock.
Well, because it's The Rock, and
that's what I'm saying.
The movie could be terrible, but it's bringing in $100 million because it's The Rock. While with Batgirl, you have
it was only going to be on streaming.
And you don't have a name attached to it.
Well, we also have Shazam coming out. We saw the trailer. I'm excited to see Shazam. It looks like it's going to be a good time. Yeah. But that's another thing. How long can we keep doing a series like that where the kids are supposed to be kids? Like,
it's been how long did it been since Shazam 1?
That's a great question.
4 years,
something like that.
I was gonna say, I think it was 18, 19?
2018, 2019, because
Shazam came out 2018.
2018. It was
the same year 2019.
2019.
Mm-hmm. Same year as Captain Marvel. Yeah. So,
it's like the same movie.
We did an episode. We actually did an episode of the two of them compared.
The joke is this isn't what the character was originally called, Captain Marvel.
Yep, and then I got sued about that.
Which I don't understand, because that came first.
Oh,
Captain Marvel DC came before Captain Marvel so they must have put...
Ansel Asher Angel's only 19, so I mean they could still maybe get another movie out of him playing a young Billy. Yeah. But to go back to that, so what happened was Captain Marvel was created by Fawcett Comics.
Yeah.
So it was like Marvel, DC, and then a bunch of smaller indie comics. Fawcett Comics and Captain Marvel was like their guy. DC sued and then bought them, because they were like, that's Superman.
Yeah.
But then, even though they still kept him called Captain Marvel, then there was like some sort of litigation with Marvel about it, and then eventually they were just like, we're just gonna call him Shazam.
Okay.
Yeah. And then in the comics they explained it like he could say the word Shazam without transforming, just because you have to say it with intention. Mm-hmm. So I hope they actually get over that. Like it was funny in the first movie where like Freddy just kept giving him different nicknames.
Yeah.
And it's like some of them were really funny. Captain Sparklefingers, Thunder Crack, but. I'm excited for that movie. Same thing though. Like Shazam is funny because it takes place in the DCEU, but it's also like here's our Batman and Superman action figures. Like apparently they make fun of it in the DC Super Pets movie. I haven't seen it yet. I don't think any of us have.
It's out? Is it out?
Yeah.
Oh, it's out?
I think it just came out.
No.
Right?
But not too long ago. But I guess there's a scene where Crypto's chewing on like a Batman toy, and Batman goes, "That better be licensed merchandise." And like that's the joke, but like in all honesty, Shazam is so weird, like how it takes place, because it supposedly does take place in the DCEU. Well, the joke,
you don't see him, but a cameo of Superman at the end of the first one.
Oh, they really need to figure this out. Well, all right, so we've gone for almost 40 minutes. If you were to give DC advice or Warner Brothers advice, what they should be doing, what do you think? What do you think DC should do in order to get back on track?
I think what WB should do, or whatever they're called, is stay out of the way. Mm-hmm. Because we've seen that the product we see in theaters is not as good as the director's cuts that we get. So I think that they need to have their directors kind of do their own thing and not have so much input. Mm-hmm. I think that will help with it, because, to help Paul out with Batman vs. Superman, the cutting and the editing of the movie is what ruined it. But if you looked at the director's cut, the editing and everything, like the parts that were edited out make sense.
Make more sense.
So
Absolutely.
I think if they just take a couple steps back, let the director do his or her own thing, I think they'll be able to be better than what they are. We'll see with Black Adam. We'll see with the new Shazam movie how things go. Both movies look like DC's going in the right direction. However, now you have all this crap that they just did, and now they don't even know the direction to go in.
Yeah, and my thing is, if you want to do a 10-year thing, all right, so Warner Brothers, obviously the merger happened. The guy who was in charge of, I guess, the DCU, Hamada is no longer with the company. Mm-hmm. So they hired, I think, a guy named Alan Horn, who was involved in Marvel, in the whole Disney Marvel, and got Marvel up and running in terms of the franchise that we know and love today. So you got a guy. Will he be the Kevin Feige of this run? You'll never know. I mean, It's very hard to replicate another studio's success.
Yeah.
You've been trying it. You're not successful at it.
And they're not the only ones.
No, they're not the only ones. Everybody's been, ever since this started in 2008, everybody wants to do a cinematic universe. You know, we joked about the Universal Monster one, which is tar garbage. You know, so the question is, if you don't cancel the Flash movie, are you now tied into what you did in that movie? What is that going to do? To me, if you want, and I don't want them to do it, but if you want to start fresh, I think you got to cancel the Flash movie. Because it's just confusing and it's just getting too much.
Yeah.
Either that or they got to, with the Flash movie, they got to do some sort of editing or reshoot or something like that where they put like something at the end where it does a reset instead of canceling, you know, that movie.
But here's the question, like, how do you start this?
Yeah.
What do you do first? Do you do what Marvel did and you do these not so big characters, Iron Man, Thor? Do you find that? Do you start with an Aquaman? Do you start with a Wonder Woman? Do you start with a Green Lantern? I mean, this is your chance to do a good Green Lantern movie now. Like, do you do that? Or do you just go straight for Superman again? This is tough. I don't envy Warner Brothers at all. I don't envy them. It's nothing they're going to do is right in the fans' minds, in my opinion. They have soured their relationship with the fans so much. They would have to hit it out of the ballpark probably 3 to 4 movies in a row for them to gain the trust back of the fans. Because do you also tie your vision to one director?
Yeah.
You did that with Zack Snyder.
And it didn't work.
To some people, it didn't work. To some people, very much liked it. I am not a huge Zack Snyder fan. I think his movies look fantastic, but I think he falters in other parts of the movie. What do? You got to find a Jon Favreau who starts it off. Then you get these accomplished directors to come in and give you their own vision and just tie them together. It's hard. It really is. What Marvel and Disney did, I mean, I don't know if we're ever going to see that again. That's hard. That's hard to do what they did.
So for me, when I think what should DC do, and as much as I'm with you, Sean, there's a lot of good that is happening casting wise. Peacemaker's fantastic, like stuff like that. So I don't want them to completely erase the board, but they might have to. Yeah. The first thing they need to do is they need a Kevin Feige. They really do.
And that might be what this guy, the Alan Horn, might be. Maybe.
But also, I think what DC needs is Zack Snyder is really good creatively, but he needs a strong script.
Yeah.
Right? When he writes, like we harp on like Batman vs Superman, but I don't think he wrote the script by himself. Like he wasn't the only one in the writer's room. In all honesty, they need somebody. Here's the look and style that we want to have, right? Because say what you will, DC superpowers look very different than Marvel superpowers. Yeah. You know, Superman, the way that they've shown his powers has always been very unique. And like that's how he looks in, you know, Man of Steel, and it's cool. Even like the Flash with his variation of, we see super speed in how many movies nowadays?
Yeah.
Like the Flash's looks different.
Well, even the way they did it in the show versus the way they did in the movie was, I mean, it was good. I liked it.
So they need a creative team. They need, hey, I'm the head of this team. I need you. This is the style we want. These are the scripts, and these are the characters that we want. And then we build. And if they don't want to emulate Marvel completely, do what they originally started doing. Like, all right, we're going to do Superman, and then we're going to do Superman and Batman. And then we're going to have Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. And, you know, like they can branch that way instead of the way Marvel did, where it was like individual movie, and they had mild ties to each other.
Yeah. And then the question is, what is your overall goal? Like, what's the storyline you're going to lead up to? Like with obviously with Marvel, it was leading up to the Avengers. That first 5-year period was, we are heading towards all these characters going to be in one movie together.
I think DC should also look at their animated stuff. Like when they wanted to relaunch their DC animated universe, they started off with Justice League.
I mean, if you look at the DC...
And it was great.
Yeah. And you look at the old DC animated shows, they were fantastic. You know, Batman and Superman.
There's no reason why you can't... I would even say, like, you look at a show like The Boys, where the character Starlight is put into the Seven, which is their Justice League, and then she learns about them. You could do a movie where it's, you know, so Justice League War, for those of you guys who haven't seen it, came out right after Flashpoint, because they did that. Flashpoint reset the DC universe animated. And the story really followed Batman and Green Lantern trying to figure out this upcoming invasion. And it's Darkseid, too. And, like, throughout it, they meet all these other superheroes, and they all come together. So, like, it's really good. Like, that. And I'm sitting there watching it one day, and I was like, they should have just made this into the live-action movie. And then we do our solo movies.
Yeah.
Also, I think they can say, we don't need, like, look at the Batman. It was successful because we don't need to know, or we don't need to see the origin of Batman over and over again.
Mm-hmm. That was yeah.
Same with Spider-Man in the MCU. We know. Everybody knows who Superman is.
That's why I liked the new Spider-Man, because I didn't like, it wasn't like
Yeah.
Uncle Ben. It was, well, there isn't even really an Uncle Ben in this movie.
No.
They saved Uncle Ben for the third movie, basically.
Yeah.
By killing Aunt May.
It should have been, Tobey Maguire should have been, it should have been like, you look just like my Uncle Ben. Like, that would have been funny.
Yeah.
But, like, they did that on Flash with John Wesley Shipp,
Yes.
where he plays not only Henry Allen, but also his
variation of Flash.
Yeah. So I don't know. I there is no right answer though. I do
There
agree with
isn't.
you, Sean.
No.
But this was fun.
I'm interested. I really am interested to see what they do, and from all accounts, it sounds like the decision's going to come fairly soon. Like what they're going to do with the Flash.
I think that right after Flash, we're going to get a very big, like, this is.
I think with the new year, or around the new year time, I think they'll make their announcement and say, this is what we have planned for 2023 to 2033.
Yep.
And we're all going to sit there and go, I'll believe it when I see it.
That's the thing. That is the thing.
You know?
It's okay. What movie are we doing first? What's our overall storyline for this arc of movies? If they even do an arc of movies, do they have to do an arc of movies?
No.
They don't, but what are we working towards then?
Yeah.
It's like...
I also don't want them to keep relying on just the big three.
Yeah.
I don't want you to
would-
keep relying on Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. I
would
want you
love to see a new Green Lantern movie.
Yeah.
I want them to see a movie where it's not hot garbage. I want to see a Flash movie.
Yeah.
And actually like the guy who's playing the Flash.
You know what I think would really help DC if every one of their movies were catered towards that character a little bit more. So like, Batman vs Superman is interesting. I think they could have done better with pitting the two of them against each other. It's better in the Ultimate Cut, unfortunately, where it's like Superman actually like investigating Batman and like what kind of, but also
I think Batman vs Superman would have worked better if Batman was more not a cameo but a smaller role.
Yeah.
The fact that it was half and half, and you can even say it was more of a Batman film than it was a Superman film.
Yeah.
Like that to me was just where it just started going downhill. I was like, you don't even trust your greatest character to hold a movie on his own. That says something to me.
I think that they should have maybe done, here's your Superman movie. At the end of the Superman movie, you get your Batman cameo. Like he's because I love the idea that Batman's the experienced crime fighter and Superman's like the new kid on the block, and like he's something that hasn't been seen before. Because they do a good job establishing Batman in the DCEU. Like he's been around.
Yeah. It's as close to the Dark Knight Returns as you're going to get as of right now.
So I think that would have been a lot more fun. Like at the end of Man of Steel, you get that Batman cameo. And then...
Or you basically get the opening scene of Batman vs Superman at the end of...
That's still one of the best.
That is a very good scene, I have to say. That's a hard scene to watch, too.
Scene of him running into that smoke while everybody's running away, like it still gets me.
Yeah.
Like,
no, you're right. That is... The more I've watched that scene, the more it's like, wow, okay, this movie was off to a great start. What happened?
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. If you watch side-by-side comparisons, they're pretty on point.
Yeah.
Like of the ending of Man of Steel and the opening. Like, I think that they could have done a... Batman vs Superman still has so many great moments in it.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of them don't even involve costumes or... Shut up.
What'd you say?
Martha.
Yeah. But like...
Who would have thought that would just be the running joke ever?
Yeah, I know. So...
I want to see Deathstroke. What's
Yeah.
his name?
Joe
Joe Manganiello.
Joe Manganiello. I was looking forward to that.
Yeah, he was supposed. That was supposed to be the Batman movie.
That was supposed to be the Batman movie, and as much as we didn't like him, I would like to have seen where Jesse Eisenberg would have gone with Lex Luthor in his full,
like
bald,
actual Lex
Luthor, not his Mark Zuckerberg wannabe
Yeah.
Lex Luthor.
Yeah, I've done so. All right, I'm weird and I'm not normal. I've done rewrites of that script of that film in my head.
Nice.
Mostly when I'm bored, like
that's fair.
especially when I was in the academy, man. Like I would just be sitting there, like just, and that would help keep me awake.
Yeah.
But like I rewrote that entire movie in my head. And you know the scene in the very beginning when Zod and Superman are coming back down and Batman's looking at them and they go past the LexCorp building? I thought it would have been fantastic if Lex Luthor had been in there and they actually hit it and he got hurt and that's what causes him to go bald.
Oh.
And he was wearing a wig the whole time. And like at the end of the movie, he's like, yo, I did this because you did this. Like I thought that would have been really cool. Like, and that's a simple switch.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Whatever. Jesse Eisenberg. We don't talk about that Lex Luthor anymore. I would have liked to see. I do agree with you, though. I would have liked to see where he would.
I would have been interested. Yeah. You already were in it. Let's see where it goes. Again, I don't envy DC, but they can't worry about what Marvel does. Mm-hmm. Just get Marvel out of your head. You're never going to catch up to them.
No.
Never. Done. Boom. It's gone.
The only good thing about DC is their shows.
Yeah. I'll go with you on that.
That is where they're beating Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
Is with their TV.
Yeah.
I think also if they were to introduce a character like Constantine and Magic and change, they can Flashpoint that way if you really want.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you can do a lot. There is a solution. I do think that going the real multiverse way, like, hey, we still have Peacemaker. It still takes place in this universe, but here's our movies. Yeah. And have HBO Max and the movies be separate. You don't have to do the lined up stuff. Like, have some fun with it. Change it up.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with HBO Max.
Nobody, and that's the other big thing.
Apparently, that and Discovery Plus are going to merge into one streamer.
Which I'm fine with because I always wanted to get Discovery Plus just because I like all the ghost stuff on it.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know when that's coming down. You know, is DC still going to be a hub on that? I'm assuming it will be.
I'm assuming it will be because that's what happened with
the DC Universe.
The DC Universe app. Yeah. They just kind of folded it in and put it in its own little section. So this was a fun conversation. Really happy. Really just full of good notes. I hope you're listening, WB. But that's going to wrap us up for today. Don't forget, if you guys want more of our content, you can find it all on our website, themisfitfaction.com, or you can find us on any social media of your choice: TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Type in the Misfit Faction. Odds are you'll find some of our stuff. If you want to hear more from Sean, you can check out our other podcast, the Cinematic Adventures Podcast. If you want to hear more from Ronnie, just call him. He's always free.
My phone number is...
It's 1-2-3...
1-800-KISS MY ASS.
1-800-SPANK ME.
I know that number.
I know that. I still can't believe they got away with that in the Disney movie. But anyway, so that's going to wrap us up. As always, I'm Paul.
I'm Ronnie.
I'm Batman.
You're Sean. This is one episode of the
I've never seen either one at the same time.
That's fair. I'll give you that one.
It could be.
And as always, we will be back in a flash.
See ya.